What it do? It's your boy Andre Spruell, and you are tuning into the Middle of the Fence podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, whether you're listening, watching, or both. As I like to say, time is the most valuable thing on this earth because we can spend it but can't make it back. So as always, thank you for your time. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Matt Riddick. Thank you for joining today's show. And before I even, get into the conversation with Matt, let me run down his credentials because he is someone that let me just run it for you guys, all right? Matt is a leader, mentor, philanthropist, independent healthcare consultant, and advocate. He's the director of client success at Strunk Insurance Group. He's the founder of the Riddick Foundation, founder of the Riddick Black Leaders of Tomorrow Scholarship, four-time under 40 honoree, and he's been featured on PBS and multiple magazines and is on multiple board of directors, and I think that pretty much covers it, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I didn't know I've done that much. That's a lot. I didn't know.
Definitely. So, if you're ready, man, we could just delve right into the interview.
Absolutely.
So you've mentioned growing up in the urban part of Philadelphia while going to private school. So you also grew up on the middle of the fence,
Absolutely.
just like myself,
Mm-hmm.
and living between completely two different worlds. How did navigating those spaces shape your identity and the way you saw opportunity?
Yeah, growing up in inner city Philadelphia in the Mount Airy neighborhood, single mom, I saw, that aspect of the struggling parent, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paycheck to paycheck, dad wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had people that advocated for me and mentors that would pour into me that helped me get into private schools and seeing, the brighter side of what could be. Mm-hmm. So it really just shaped my identity as far as being tenacious and knowing that there's something better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing, like you said, that middle of the fence of going home to, a bit of a struggle, but also going to get educated in a different world as well.
Right.
So it really just gave me the confidence and the exposure to just really believe that there's something greater, something better, and just put that tenacious attitude in me just to go forth,
Absolutely. And I feel like it's kind of hard not to be tenacious when you the environment that you wake up is much different than the one that you go to
Absolutely.
On a daily basis,
Absolutely.
Monday through Friday, and sometimes weekends too.
Absolutely.
So definitely with you on that. And the word that you used, tenacity and being tenacious, what are some of the earliest moments that tested that tenacity and helped you build the perseverance you're known for today?
Yeah, I mean, again, that environment, a lot of it as well is I was also a basketball player. And
okay.
So
just like your boy, like your boy.
Yeah. So and I'm not tall. So to be honest with you, early on in childhood, being small, and I think growing up in a rougher neighborhood but going to private school, it helped me kind of develop and shape different tools like learning how to bounce back. You're not going to win every time.
Right.
Going through those trials and those processes, and that really helped shape my identity as well. I know I didn't know that early on, but that's something early on in my life that really helped me shape my identity from just being just a go-getter. Sports, right. I believe, is really a tool that teaches you about life, right? Mm-hmm. You're not always gonna make the team. You're not always gonna get that position. You're not always going to be the one to lead that project. You're not always going to be a starter. There's always
right.
there's definitely
right.
that yin and yang to sports.
Mm-hmm.
And early on in my life, that really developed and my look on life. At least it helped.
Yeah, and I can definitely relate to that. I'm not the tallest myself, so point guard, shooting guard type of vibe. So you already know.
I'm point guard, yeah.
You already know.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big believer in sports being such a great teacher early on. Mm-hmm. And even with the dual upbringing, it's like the sport of basketball, even that, like how different it looked when I grew up playing
Absolutely.
in urban environments like Newark, New Jersey on, South 8th and 9th. For those that know, they know, versus when I played in more of the suburban neighborhoods, and just off of that, and obviously like how it looks, just like you said, starting, not starting, different ways to contribute as a teammate and all that, which translates into the corporate world and
Absolutely.
life in general.
Absolutely.
And things like that. And speaking of the affluent acres or the suburban side of the fence, obviously things are much different, but one thing that you've mentioned is that access doesn't always equal ease.
Correct.
And can you expand on that, and what does that statement mean to you now as a leader and mentor?
Yeah, just because you have the accessibility, whether it be in the business world, arts, sports, politics, whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't glass ceilings that attempt to cap you, especially being Black in this country as well. Absolutely. As a Black man in this country.
Absolutely.
So just because you can see it and you can maybe feel it doesn't mean that the access to it is going to be easy. So for me, again, developing that background as a child, that tenacity and just being relentless, has really shaped me and helped me out even today in my work, being able to burst through those glass ceilings. One, with education. Education is a great tool to use, and it doesn't have to be formal education such as college. It could be trade schools or tech schools, but education is key in this country, and I would really advocate and press on that. Don't allow anyone to say that you don't need that tool, especially as Black people in this country, because it really does grant you more access. Also, being able to connect with the right leaders and other people that are willing to advocate for you. We all need that sponsorship and that advocacy for ourselves. That also really grants you that access, right? So, but again, you need to have the tools, because again, just because you can see the access, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to automatically gain it, right? So again, it's just that kind of middle of the fence that you're at. You can feel it, see it, touch it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be yours.
Agreed. And you put that very eloquently, so thank you for that. And I just can't help but to add the education portion. That is the biggest difference when it comes to when I look back at my life and how I grew up to where I'm at now. That was the primary difference. The fact that, it was a village the way that I was raised, because it wasn't just my mom, and I'm fortunate for that. It was my mom, my grandparents, aunt, uncles. It was, typical Spanish type of household.
Yep.
But they made the sacrifice because they realized, hey, you guys in this tough terrain type of neighborhood, I'm sure you guys would be fine, but you're much better off going to private school in a different area, so you guys can see like what's out there. And education is the biggest difference. And I think one thing too is that education doesn't stop once you're out of school. Like it's like okay, like and for most people, like they'll never pick up a book again, or never be curious to like learn about other topics and educate themselves. So education never stops, and it is the most important tool regardless of what side of the fence you grew up on.
Completely agree. And also education just by learning from other people that are obviously more seasoned or even the same age, because all of us have different experiences.
Absolutely.
So, you can learn from me, I can learn from you, just based off of a conversation and what we've been through. To add on to the accessibility, in my family, I've been blessed to also have family members that are also from inner city Philadelphia, but have gone on to be successful. So I have family members in Arizona and California that will allow me to come out of Philadelphia to see the other side of that fence, which is also a key to kind of that informal education of seeing something outside of what you're used to as well. So being able to see that have that visibility when you're on the other side of the fence and you're trucking along in that middle, but to see those affluent acres is crucial as well.
Yeah, because it just makes you realize that there is more out there, because it's like if you grew up in an environment and it's the only one that you know, and never really venture like outside of it, you won't know what's possible, and even for those that grow up in a more like a suburban type of background, if that's all you know and have never ventured out to try to understand people that haven't grown up in that type of environment, it's like you're gonna move a certain way instead of having those conversations to gain a better understanding of one another.
Absolutely.
And you've also mentioned legacy is a journey, not a destination.
Absolutely.
And that one really hits hits home with me as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
What does legacy look like to you now, and how has that meaning evolved over time?
Yeah, legacy is something that transcends me. It's something that that hopefully will make impact when I'm gone. If I die tomorrow, if I die 50 years from now, hopefully the tools, the gems that I'm leaving now will have positive effects on my family. I have a son that's almost 2, and he's growing up in a completely different world that you and I even grew up in.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So legacy right now is just about really just planting seeds wherever I go to make sure that I'm making impact, whether it be about education, scholarship, sports. That's how you just make. 'Cause at the end of the day, all you have is your name, right?
Yeah.
That's really what it is. Accolades fade. Your degrees, your letters behind your name will not be relevant, but it is about what you leave and your name. And it's really, the second part of that is how it shaped me and what that means to me as far as legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how I think now is, again, just making sure that I'm making impact. That's really about kind of what my theme is for my life right now. Wherever I go, I'm making impact, whether it be for work or speaking engagements or mentorship or whatever. It's really just about making sure that I'm making impact where I go, and that really establishes your legacy long term.
Absolutely. And when I first reached out to you to be a guest on this show, this was one of the things that we really harped on was the legacy portion. And when it comes to this podcast, that's exactly how I viewed it, and I articulated that to you. Where it's just like, I want to create something special that outlives me, and just like you said, all the accolades and the material success that comes about as you progress through your career and life in general. Of course, those are nice and all that, but at the end of the day, it's like when your time comes, just like you said, whenever that time is, it's like what did you leave behind?
Right.
Did you impact people's lives in a positive way? And we have a choice of how we're remembered.
Correct.
At the end of the day, so it really is on us. And speaking of legacy, you've obviously have trailblazed that through the Riddick Foundation and the Black Leaders of Tomorrow Scholarship to help others. Why was creating those platforms so personal for you, and what impact have you seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, the Riddick Foundation was founded initially in 2021, January of 2021. I really have to give kudos to my wife. She's the one that kind of
shout out wifey. Shout out wifey.
Gotta give her kudos. But she's the one that really pushed me forward to really go forward with it. But we really delve into the Black and Brown community in the areas of scholarship, education, advocacy, and mentorship. We've been able to make impact and establish scholarships at institutions such as the Montgomery County Community College in Pennsylvania, Delaware Valley University in Pennsylvania.
I'm familiar with Delaware Valley, by the way. We used to play them in college basketball.
College basketball, yeah. And I'll be able to speak at schools all around the country. I've spoken in Arizona. I've spoken in Jersey, Pennsylvania. I've been able to really, establish the foundation. And the Riddick Black Leaders of Tomorrow Scholarship was born out of financial accessibility to education in the Black and Brown community, which, as we all know, is a problem in this country. So I really wanted to pour back and give back. And as I stand on the shoulders of folks that helped me, I wanted to reach back and help the generation behind me. So that establishing that has been huge. Being able to provide financial assistance, in areas for books or that tuition that kind of sneaks up on you from the bursar's office, or and we've been able to see the impact. I've been able to mentor a lot of young professionals. I've been able to mentor college students. I've spoken to thousands. My voice, thankfully, has reached hundreds of thousands around the world within the various platforms that I've been able to kind of collaborate with between radio shows, TV, magazines. So, and that's the impact that I'm trying to leave, right? It's not about, the accolade or the finances, which are all well and good, but it's about being able to reach back and bringing up that next generation of leaders that we really need. Because that's really what this country needs. We need another generation, the next generation of leaders to really step up and take heed to their talents and do something with it, whether it be in politics, whether it be in law, whether it be in business, whether it be in sports, but take heed to those talents and step up and make impact.
Absolutely. And, with what you just mentioned, there's two things that I want to state that are aligned with that. One is that is one of the things that I'm setting myself up for, is to give back through educational means to children that grew up in a tough terrain or urban type of background, just because of how difficult it is, because the finances shouldn't be a limit for something like education, which can literally change the course of someone's family tree that grows up in that type of environment. Correct. And because of growing up in that tough terrain background, and we spoke about basketball and all that, and when I was like 10, 12 years old, I realized, oh wow, I have some kind of talent in this, and this is something that I can help my family get me through college with. So literally, while everyone was playing basketball at like 10, 12 years old to have fun, I was seeing it as like
a way out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I ended up playing Division III basketball, so it's not like they don't accept athletic scholarships, but because I was also a good student paired with basketball, it gave me the opportunity, and I still had some college debt coming out, but pretty much 85 to 90% of my schooling was covered through that. So it's just like blessed and grateful, obviously, but it just goes to show that I still had a great childhood and all that, but with the circumstances that you have, and sometimes it's like, okay, you have to grow up quicker and realize, hey, this is how I can help my family out. Right. So I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my mother really preached the importance of education. Growing up, especially growing up in Philadelphia, her saying was, if you want nice things, you want to live a certain way, you got to go to college. You got to, we all had the same speech kind of growing up, but it really is true. And it really does allow you to kind of burst through those glass ceilings, as I mentioned earlier, and really make something of yourself. So, and for me, it was the grades. I like yourself, have a little debt coming out, but scholarships and grants and, it really did help me, and being a minority with that type of accolade helps as well. So absolutely.
And for the next question, balancing life between limited resources and privilege taught you humility and perseverance. How have those lessons shown up in your work today, whether it's in healthcare consulting, or through the Riddick Foundation?
How has privilege and the lack thereof, or?
Yeah, like how balancing between the limited resources and privilege, how has that taught you humility and perseverance? Yeah. So how have those lessons shown up in a professional sense?
Yeah, I think for me, especially in my healthcare work, I am empathetic to employees. I think a talent that I've been told that I have is that I can empathize and speak with the person that's making $15 an hour, and I can also go and shake hands with the CEO of the company because I've been in both of those worlds, right? So with my healthcare consultancy and the Riddick Foundation, it allows me to connect with various people in various ways. I think that's the best way I can describe it, how it's made impact for me, because I've had little and I've had much, but I've seen both sides of the fence, if you will. So, and it allows me to speak in a humble way and express humility and empathy. It allows me to, as I said, connect with various people. It allows me to learn from various people and their stories, which is always a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
So it definitely makes impact on me and how I deliver my work and how I like to deliver at a high level. Because in order for you to make impact, you have to strive for a high level at all times. So, yeah, I think having the experiences of, little, much, in between, what have you. It really allows me to just delve into my work, whether it be in healthcare, consultancy, just to be able to communicate in various ways. The other piece of that is, my own personal journey is I have Crohn's disease, which is an inflammatory bowel disease that's prevalent in all communities, but for some reason it's not well educated in the Black community. So, my advocacy in that regard also allows me to be able to, show empathy and respect for those that are fighting the same illness as well.
Do you mind just giving a little background on Crohn's disease and what exactly it is, just for any of those watching or listening that aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Crohn's disease is an inflammatory bowel disease that affects your small and large intestine, and it literally causes inflammation. So it can cause severe abdominal pain, vomiting, blood in your stool. I mean, it can really, and the byproduct of this, if it's not treated correctly, it can lead to certain cancers, such as colon cancer, liver and kidney issues, inflammation of the eyes. It's a full body disease if not treated. So I say that as an example for me, because even as an advocate for this disease and going toward a journey, hopefully toward a cure, it really allows me to, again, speak with empathy, advocate for individuals, educate HCPs and other providers of this disease in the gastrointestinal realm. So it really just, again, going back to the financial accessibility piece, sometimes, especially in the Black community, Black and brown community, this disease is not treated because of lack of education, lack of healthcare accessibility, lack of finances. So again, being able to see where my mother did not even have health insurance for about 10 or 15 years because she was doing temporary work. And back in those days, or even now, when you do temp work, you don't get health insurance. You get nothing. You get nothing. And she didn't even catch a cold for all that time. And she did. She didn't let me know because she went to work every day. But for me, having been blessed to have great jobs and offered full coverage and full health care that may not be accessible to someone else, it allows me, I've seen both sides of the fence where limited healthcare, and I'm blessed with full coverage now. So
yeah, absolutely. And just to piggyback off of that, I mentioned it in a previous episode where when it comes to jobs, right? Like you see it in the Black and brown communities because your boy had was a temp worker for a little bit before I got into the corporate side of things, and it's like. And it was just me on my own. But if you're a temp worker, you're paid hourly. Right. You only get paid for showing up. There's no PTO, no vacation days. Like if you want to take a vacay as a temp worker, have fun, paid. But you're not getting paid. You're not getting paid. So because of that, even if someone is sick and should be home and resting, they're still showing up to work because they need to make the money. Because if they don't show up, then how is their child going to eat? How is the family going to eat? So it's just, it really puts things into perspective. And you mentioned it in your recent answer, and I wanted to bring it up just because of both of us growing up in the middle of the fence. Yeah. So being able to connect with anyone is one of your natural gifts, and I feel like it is one of mine as well. And do you think the ability to bridge both worlds, the tough terrain and affluent acres, is it something that can be taught, or is it something you had to live to learn?
I think it's a blend of both. I really think that you can only be, you're only able to connect with a variety of people if you're going through a variety of circumstances. So you're able to connect with them. I think that skill is built throughout the time of your life, right? And hopefully you continue to build that skill throughout your entire life. At the same time, it can be taught because we all can be a little rough around the edges, so you have to maybe fine tune it depending on the type of person you're speaking to, right? Depending on their background, depending on what they want to get out of the conversation, depending on what type of conversation you're having. So that's where I think the learning aspect of it is. But I think your experiences allow you to adjust to enable you to connect with a variety of people. And it's a skill that I think that all of us need to have if we want to have an even a better world than what we have right now.
To say the least. To say the least.
We're living in times where we've lost connection, where we're probably the most disconnected generation of our time at the moment. And what I mean by that is we have access to so much as far as information, education, technology, artificial intelligence. But at the same time, we have no connection skills. We don't know how to hold a conversation. We can't shake someone's hand and look them in the eye. We barely even sit down at dinner with our families anymore, right? So again, having experiences, being able to go through things and tangibly and genuinely learn from them allows you to be able to connect in various episodes.
Absolutely. And if I were to give my answer to that, when I first was creating the questions for this interview and all that, with this one, I'm like, you have to live it to learn it.
Absolutely.
You know, like it's like, yeah, like when you're literally in the middle of it, seeing both sides every single day, you know, it's like you can't help but to not feel empathy towards any situation, and you can relate more to the struggling black family from a low income neighborhood because you lived it, right? And then you see a suburban well-off family, you know, and but because you went to school with those kids, you're able to get an insider lens to see, oh wow, like yeah, they may have all like the material things, nice house and things of that nature, but they go through they have their own problems and go through their own stuff too, you know. And after the answer that you gave, yeah, it can be taught. And when I've asked other guests, you know, what's the best way to bridge the tough terrain in affluent acres, the number one answer has always been, like, if Steve Harvey was doing Family Feud right now, what's the number one answer? Conversations.
Absolutely.
Conversations. And it's like, yeah, sometimes when you have those types of conversations, it may be awkward because you never really interacted with people of a certain background or race or ethnicity, whatever, religion, whatever the case like may be, you know, but you have to push past that and just more so want to have those conversations, to want to gain a better understanding and all that. And obviously with today's day and age, it doesn't help that because the growth in AI and technology and the convenience of making people stay home and stay on their phones, you know, whether it's through the people surfing on their social media apps all day, and literally you can get anything delivered to your house. You got Amazon, groceries, literally everything for the convenience, and even for meeting people. People would rather go on apps or message people versus like actually going out to like a networking like event, or if you're looking for your like significant other, maybe going to one of those like dating things and things like that. So it's really going to be interesting to see how things play out.
Absolutely.
From that regard, but I'm definitely with you that it can be lived, but also can be taught, and it starts with having those conversations and
being genuine about them as well. It's being genuine, not just having them because you have to or because it's a part of your job or you know you just kind of want to get through it. But being genuine about connection will really help you and help society in the long run for sure.
Absolutely. And if you could sum up your mission today as a leader, mentor, and connector in one sentence, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a tough. Wow.
Okay. I know that one's a tough one.
Yeah, in one sentence.
In one sentence. If you go more than one sentence, you know, it's okay. But let's really.
For me, always have something to look up to, something to look forward to, and something to chase. That's kind of been my motto. I can't, it's my one sentence, so I can elaborate. So.
No, you can elaborate. You said the sentence, and now you can elaborate further. Go ahead, Matt.
So, you know, when I say something to look up to, you know, for me, it's my faith. You know, I look up to God. You know, I've been blessed bountifully. You know, a beautiful family. You know, career, education. You know. whatever that looks like for you. It could be a parent, it could be faith, it could be, but having something to look up to, something to look forward to. I look forward to a generation of leaders that are coming up and ready to make impact and really ready to just burst through those glass ceilings and reach back and keep pulling up generation after generation after generation, because that's really how we create that domino effect of leaders and impactful leaders that are going to, in politics, law, sports, whatever the case may be, but are going to be differentials and disruptors, really, in this game we call life. And lastly, as I say, something to chase. Every day I wake up, I chase perfection. And everything that I do. And anybody that really knows me knows I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And now I know that I'm never going to be perfect. None of us are. Right. But that's quite all right with me, because it fuels my drive to perform at a high level at everything that I do. And it just keeps allowing me to have something to chase every single day. So, whatever that is for you guys, whatever it is you look up to, whatever it is that you look forward to, whatever it is that you are looking to chase, pick those three things out and go for it and dominate.
Hey, everyone that's tuning in, Matt just dropped a golden nugget with that. So, if you needed that wake up call, that's it right there. I mean, there's no other way that I could put it myself. And last question for you. So, you mentioned your faith. So you live by faith, authenticity, and hard work. Was there a defining person or moment that really brought those values to life for you?
Yeah, my mother. Yeah. I mean, she's a remarkable human being. She was my mother. She's remarkable. I mean, to raise me, finances weren't always great, single, inner city Philadelphia, but put me through private schools, put me in a blue ribbon public school district when we moved to, into the suburbs, got me through college, and, I kind of took off from there with the education thing. But yeah, she instilled the faith, she instilled the values, she instilled the purpose. So I'm not me without her at all. So definitely my mother.
That's awesome, man. And I can relate to that. And you've met my mom as well, so you know exactly how she is. And I've spoken about my mother on multiple episodes already, and that won't stop.
Don't stop.
And I really relate to that, because my 5 core principles personally that I, just like the way that you're wired and operate, it's very similar to how I move, and hopefully one day I can be like you.
Oh, you better than me, man.
But, so mine are hard work, discipline, humility, kindness, and authenticity. Like if I had 5 principles that it's like, hey, Andre, what are you made of? Those are the 5. And so it's like when I do my morning prayers and all that, because obviously to have this kind of drive and be consistent, you got to be rooted in your habits, because those small things can add up to make you better, or
it could
get you off track.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So it's like, and that's part of it. Understanding who you are, what you're about, and then having those core principles or the way that you want to view and operate through life, and using that to allow you to, make whatever it is you want out of your life. Because we're 2 examples right here. Circumstances do not define you.
They do not.
They do not define you. It's what you make it, So whether you grew up in a tough terrain background or affluent acres background, or a little bit
Maybe
of both.
A little bit of both.
You the way that you live and operate your life truly is on you. And at the end of the day, whenever your time comes, and this is the one thing that I have in the back of my mind, is whenever my time comes, it's can I look back and say, wow,
right,
I live my life.
Absolutely.
Or is it
I wish I did.
I wish I would have started that podcast. I wish I would have been in that career.
Absolutely.
I wish I would have started that foundation, and no one wants to live like that.
Exactly.
No one wants to live like that. So How can listeners connect with you on your journeys? This is your time to shout out your social medias and, and anything else.
Yeah, you can definitely look out for me on LinkedIn, of course. That's a huge platform that's granted me a lot of exposure and opportunity. So Matthew Riddick JD on LinkedIn. The Riddick Foundation, it's the underscore Riddick underscore foundation on Instagram. You can follow me there. www.matthewriddick.com is under construction, but write that down because that's coming.
Come on now.
So we're going to have the foundation, the healthcare thing. So that's under construction as well. But yeah, keep a lookout for the foundation. Any opportunities that you like to connect, Zoom call, cup of coffee, anything, feel free to reach out. I'm only a message away.
Awesome stuff, Matt. And for anyone watching, we have the lower thirds for it, as Matt spoke, and we have it in these show notes, whether you're watching on your favorite podcast streaming platforms or YouTube. And whether you are more of a listener or viewer on the podcast streaming platform or on YouTube, please be sure to comment, like, follow, subscribe, and all that wonderful stuff so we can continue growing this middle of the fence family. And Matt, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, and I know that our audience had a lot of takeaways, and you dropped a lot of nuggets, so if you missed this episode, that's on you. And as I like to say, no matter which side of the fence you grew up on, we're all more alike than we think. My name is Andre Spruell. Catch you guys next time. Peace.